Good evening. This is the Northern Sun Experience, and it's a special all-hardwood edition this week as the Augustana men's basketball team prepares for the Elite Eight. With a senior-laden team led by the top two scorers in school history, this is where the Vikings were supposed to be. Now it's simply a matter of putting it all together for just 3 more games. And the region championship victory over the team that ended their run last season gives Augustana all the confidence in the world. Over the past 2 seasons, Augustana has played Northwest Missouri State 3 times, and the outcomes of those games have been decided by a combined 5 points. And after a furious, fun, and entertaining 80-78 win in the Central Region Championship, avenging last year's second-round loss to the Bearcats, the Vikings can finally exercise at least one demon.
Obviously, we didn't want to lose to them last year, and that added a ton of fuel to the fire. That was kind of our big thing is, we're not letting this happen again.
It motivated us more going into the season. We didn't really talk about it at all even after we played them in November. But it motivated us over last spring and the summer. It was brought up often, and it was huge motivation. We did do, when we lost to them last year, we sat in the locker room for a minute, and everybody, I said, don't ever forget this feeling. It never has to happen again.
And so far, that feeling hasn't happened. With the Vikings' biggest rival over the past 2 years out of the picture, Augustana can now focus on the task at hand, 3 wins away from a national championship.
Our whole 4 years, we've talked about it, and we've talked about it, but we never accomplished it until now. And so that was kind of the big thing where, it was kind of one of those things. We knew we had the potential last year, and we obviously fell a little bit short. And so this year we were motivated the whole way through it. So we weren't going to let that happen again.
You got to have some luck now. It's a 3-game tournament. You got to go down there and have some luck. We're not just like, oh, good, we made it. We got to go down there and be ready to play. It's not like, oh, okay, we got over that hurdle. We want to go down there and play our best basketball. If we lose playing our best, then tip my hat to the other opponent.
The first opponent Augustana will face at the Elite Eight is Tarleton State, a Lone Star Conference team that, much like the Vikings, relies on a bunch of seniors to carry the scoring load. But the difference for the Vikings might just be the play of the non-seniors, like freshman John Warren and sophomore Jordan Spencer, who hit the game-winning free throws against Northwest Missouri State.
We trust all our guys on our team. We definitely, I have all the trust in the world in him and Adam and John, being the younger guys. Every time they shoot it, I think it's going in. And it's just one of those things where our team is so strong, especially the guys that come out and compete every night and play a lot, and even the guys that don't get a lot of minutes. I think our team is just so rock solid this year that I feel like, we can and we know what we can accomplish, but we just got to go out there and do it.
At best, there are 3 more games in the careers of Casey Schilling, Dan Jansen, and Alex Richter, senior stalwarts who keyed a big turnaround and turned Augustana into a national powerhouse. Now, they can't be relied on to do it all for the Vikings down at the Elite Eight, but they can serve as motivation for the younger guys to send them out on top.
Our time together is going to be short, and we're really starting to appreciate every game that happens, and appreciate the seniors that we have, because my rest of the time I won't ever have players like Casey, Dan, and Al to play with.
It means a lot, but I've got a great group of kids. I know the seniors are who you tend to talk about because we continue to play until it's over and it's done. There's a group of kids in that locker room. They don't get a lot of minutes this year. We play about 7, 8, and that's it. And those kids in that locker room are as happy as anyone that we won. They come to practice every day. They help us get better. And the future is theirs. They're going to be here down the road, and I hope they can carry this torch. But that's a pretty heavy torch from what this group has done.
When we come back, former Augustana point guard Jordan Dalton joins me to break down how his alma mater can win its first national championship.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience, joined by former Augustana point guard Jordan Dalton, of course, to discuss his alma mater, the Vikings. Going to get going in the Elite Eight very shortly. So let's take a look at the Augie year in review. 31-2 record so far this season. The easiest question, how are they able to repeat their performance from last season this season?
Yeah, I think if you look at Augie, their staple has been their ability to score on the offensive end just in a variety of different ways and score so consistently as well. You look at nationally, they're ranked in the top 5 in field goal percentage as well as three-point percentage, and then lead the nation in assist to turnover ratio. So every single time down the court, they're getting a pretty good look at the basket. So not only does that put pressure on team's defense, it also puts pressure on team's offense as well, because they know they have to execute at a high level on a consistent basis just to keep up with Augie. They do a great job where they're a unique team, and their three-point shot really opens up all other aspects of their game. You get dynamic players in the post like Dan Jansen and Casey Schilling. They're going one-on-one matchups because teams a lot of times don't want to leave shooters to go double team. So I just think their ability to shoot the ball from deep really, really expands their offensive array, and also enhances a lot of other aspects of their offensive game.
You mentioned Dan Jansen. He became not only Augustana's all-time leading scorer this season, but the NSIC's all-time leading scorer. In what ways does he lead this team?
Yeah, I think it's also a testament to how hard he's worked in the offseason. If you hear coaches talk about him, the kid lives in the gym, and he's just been able to add something new or improve on his offensive game every single year he's been at Augie. He's always been a great low post threat. He has great footwork, soft hands. He's 6'9", 240, so he's a load to deal with down low. And he also gets to the free throw line at a pretty high rate, too. But where he's expanding his game is his three-point shooting ability. Big men are typically used to running back to the paint, defending the paint on the defensive end. I think he's just made a living and done a great job at hitting trail threes, just stopping and popping. He's nice in the pick and pop, situations where, he can pop out. Once again, bigs are used to roll into the paint, and that's what they're used to defending. So I think his ability to score inside and out really makes it tough to defend, because no matter what the defense does, they're always in a bad spot, and he just does a great job of taking what the defense gives him.
Well, if Dan Jansen is 1A for the Vikings, then Casey Schilling is easily 1B. Jansen's Augie's all-time leading scorer. Casey Schilling, the second all-time leading scorer for the Vikings. How specifically has he improved his game over the course of his career? Yeah,
and you look at that. That's a pretty startling fact there, when the two top scorers in Augie's history have played side by side for 4 years. That just shows the efficiency that they've played with on the offensive end. I just think Casey's toughness and his work ethic and his determination has really catapulted him to a different stratosphere, especially this year. He gets a lot of buckets by sheer will and determination. He crashes the offensive board so hard. He's great at straight line drives to the basket. He just does so many different things on the offensive end that he's really a jack of all trades. And kudos to him for working on his outside jump shot. In the past, teams have left him open out there. This year, he's really made teams pay. But I just think his toughness and his grit is something you can't teach, and he's born with it. And I don't think you'll find another player that gets more out of the talent that he has than Casey Schilling.
Well, Dan Jansen, Casey Schilling, Alex Richter, easily the top three senior leaders on this team. But what's a potential X factor for the Elite Eight in Texas? Yeah,
I think when you look at Augie as a whole, their offense, like you said, especially their front line, gets a lot of notoriety, a lot of publicity, as they should. But I really think it's Adam Byer and John Warren's ability to defend perimeter players that really has put them in the position that they're in. When you got those two draw the hardest assignment on the perimeter every single night, and they just show up. It's sometimes a thankless job to fight through screens, contest shots, pressure the basketball, rotate on help side. Sometimes those things get overlooked by a lot of people, but I'm sure if you ask Augie's coaching staff, they'll tell you those guys are a big reason they're in the position they are.
Well, lastly, Tarleton State, 24-8 on the season out of the Lone Star Conference. Hard to really gauge the matchup, but what's maybe the one thing Augie has to do to win that matchup?
Yeah, if you look at Tarleton State, they're basically, in Augie, it's a battle of opposing styles. Obviously, we talked about how, potent Augie's offense is. Well, Tarleton State is, number 10 in the country in defensive scoring. And so I think they got a lot of long, athletic guys who try to wreak havoc, cause a lot of turnovers, get going in transition to get easy buckets. So in order for Augie to come out successful, I think they're really going to have to do a great job of taking care of the basketball and getting the shots that we used to knock down.
Should be an interesting quarterfinal matchup on Wednesday. Well, when we come back, our Under the Northern Sun feature will spotlight Augustana University, including some words from Dan Jansen on why he became a Viking.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. It's time to shine the spotlight on one of our member schools with a feature we like to call Under the Northern Sun. And with the Vikings in the D2 Elite Eight, it's only appropriate to spotlight Augustana University.
Here at Augustana, I felt the things that we do differently than other programs we compete against or other programs in the nation is We have a great faculty and staff who are at every game, who are there cheering loudly for us, and it's a great advantage to know that my professors and people I meet on the street who are big Augie boosters are always at our games and always encouraging us every chance they get.
And then whenever we travel, I mean, our away sidelines, our away stands is almost just as big as the home stands.
One of the best things I think Augustana has to offer is just kind of the community feel of it. It's really small. You see everyone on the campus just walking around, especially the teammates. I mean, we're with each other all the time. Professors know you by name. You're not just a number here.
We don't focus so much on like our accomplishments all the time, but building strong relationships. So you really have a family here, and it's just awesome to be a part of it.
I think at Augustana we were given a lot of things into our own hands and challenged us, because in the real world we're not going to have people babying us. You have to make your own decisions, and I feel like here we got that opportunity.
Being at Augustana, I have learned to juggle things more than I expected to. Being busy with 2 sports and wanting to manage all of it has been tough, but being at Augie has really helped me figure out time management, learn how to deal with stress, and giving full effort, because it's something I believe in and something I want to pursue it's my goal to be a physical therapist, and I think Augie and the professors have helped me greatly with that.
Being a student athlete has helped me become a better leader. It's helped me to be more helpful. I mean, in high school I was, everybody's somewhat the star in high school, and everybody's looking at you, but I mean, when you get to college, you have to work your way up, and it's definitely helped me to go out there and reach out to other people and just be more outgoing, and it's helped me build confidence in myself as a person, just being a student athlete here.
I've become a lot more outgoing. Obviously in college you're kind of on your own, but I guess being with the team you develop those relationships, but also just I guess appreciating being on the field and everything that we have. So.
When we come back, we'll continue our Augie theme with the top 5 Vikings basketball plays of the season.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. Not only did the Augie men's team make the Elite 8, but the women's team also had a great run at the end of the season, making it all the way to the conference tournament championship. And in honor of that, here are your current top 5 Viking basketball plays of the season. At number 5, we'll go with Jersey 5 for the Viking women, Sophie Kenny, as she drives inside and hits the reverse layup in the NSIC tournament semifinals. Necessary? Probably not. Highlight worthy? Absolutely. Kenny goes fancy to lead things off. At number 4, it's Casey Schilling doing double duty. Just seconds after hitting a 3 against Nebraska Kearney in the Central Region's second round, he steals the pass and glides in for the hammer dunk. The Lopers put up a tough game against the Vikings, but obviously Augie stayed alive with play number 4 from Jersey 32. Number 3 starts our string of buzzer beaters. Off the Sophie Kenny miss, Paige Peterson gets the putback at the buzzer for the win over Wayne State. Peterson was bothered by a foot injury for most of the season, but this one came off the right foot for the winner over the Wildcats. For number 2, Sophie Kenny comes through in the clutch. Down by 1 to Winona State in the NSIC tournament semifinals, the senior steps back and nails the jumper with 2.5 seconds to go in overtime. Kenny put on an otherworldly performance throughout the conference tournament, and this buzzer beater propelled Augie to the conference championship. But our number 1 Augie play of the year so far was Dan Jansen's final shot when the Vikings played Northwest Missouri State in the regular season. Down by 1 in the final seconds and off a broken play, Jansen nails a 26-footer with less than a second to go to top the Bearcats. A 2-point win there, a 2-point win in the Central Region Championship, as Augie was full of clutch moments all year long. We'll see if they have any more left in the Elite 8. When we come back, we'll switch away from our Augustana theme, but still stick with basketball and hear the inspiring story of Southwest Minnesota State's Derek Klinkner.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, and Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back. While Augustana is competing for a national championship this week, the Southwest Minnesota State wheelchair basketball team just concluded its season last week at their nationals. The Mustangs finished 6th at the National Intercollegiate Wheelchair Basketball Tournament in Pennsylvania, and they were led by a multi-sport former Mustang student athlete who isn't letting limitations stop him from becoming a wheeling success.
Hey, we're ready. You guys can bring it.
The fast lane at Southwest Minnesota State's wheelchair basketball camp runs 94 feet.
Nothing here, nothing here. Woo! Hey Sam, how you doing? Hey, watch baseline, go baseline, go baseline, go baseline.
But Derek Klinkner has always been quick. With a shot.
There you go, that's your shot, Brian. I bet you're not gonna make it though. I'm talking trash here right now. Woohoo! Called it!
And his mouth.
Some people think, oh, they're in wheelchairs, it's not that intense of a sport. I'll say, come on, I'll play a one-on-one. I'll spot you 20 points a game at 21 and give you the ball first. We'll see who wins.
A quick talker, a quick learner, and quickly understanding that life has a funny way of giving you everything you ever wanted.
Woo! I'll take that. I'll take that.
Derek Klinkner grew up in Artesian, South Dakota, working on the family farm and eventually earning a football scholarship to SMSU.
You come on campus and you get a feel of a big old family. That's kind of how I describe it. We're just kind of a big old family here at Southwest. And that's one thing that I was looking for. I come from a small town, close to my family. I wanted to essentially feel part of a family choosing a school.
In his first 2 seasons as a Mustang, Derek racked up more than 130 tackles and earned NSIC All-Conference honors. It was hard work that earned Derek those accolades. But after his sophomore season, even harder work laid ahead. On a rainy day in the spring of 2010, Derek was helping his dad move a water tank across the farm.
We use a payloader tire, put it on its side, put cement in the bottom of it, so essentially it's really heavy. It's about 3,000 pounds, this particular tire. We were moving it from point A to point B, and when we placed it at point B, the ground wasn't quite level, so we put some backfill in there to make it level. While we were picking it up and hooking up the pipes underneath of it, because that's the camp through the center, the earth on the opposite side, so the backfill that I just laid down gave away and shifted out of the bucket on top of me, essentially breaking my back, or for the science nerds, I'm a T12 L1 dislocation. It was a very sharp, excruciating pain. I would describe it as, taking like a butcher knife, about 12 inches, 18 inches, and jabbing in your back. So it was like that. Every time you're taking a breath, you turn that knife a quarter of a turn.
Derek was paralyzed from the waist down. His football career was over.
And then it wasn't until about 6 weeks later that it really hit me, that I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. And this sucks, and it really took a toll on me. And it was tough because, I loved football. Football essentially was my life, and that got taken away from me. Like, what am I gonna do now?
Despite the accident, Derek returned to SMSU for his junior year and found a new outlet for his athleticism, although he wasn't exactly quick to come around to it.
I'm never gonna play that terrible sport. Those are my exact words. I'm never gonna play that terrible sport.
So how exactly did the wheels get started? Well, Derek actually lost a bet to a friend, and he was forced to try out for the wheelchair basketball team.
And that first day, I literally had open wounds on my hand. They were bleeding. Everything I touched, I'd leave blood. And I couldn't move. They wouldn't let me go to play defense, wouldn't let me go down offense. It was really frustrating. I was just like, I'm stuck there. I'm like, oh, and then I turn around and the same person's on the opposite side, not letting me move. And it was a shell shock, because like I said, I was so naturally gifted at everything that I did, and it's something that I sucked at. And essentially that drove me to get better. You're gonna shoot this one. Look it up.
Derek did get better, earning his way onto the team in the fall of 2010 and eventually onto the coaching staff. In fact, Derek was both a player and coach from 2012 to 2014, maintaining the head coaching job after earning both his bachelor's and master's degrees.
He's a really good guy. He expects a lot out of his players, and just is really hard and kind of pushes us towards where we need to go.
This program's only going to grow as much as Derek grows, because Derek's going to really have to push things. But if you've talked to him for 5 minutes, he's very confident.
Nice shot last time. Go make it next time, I promise.
Along with the help of SMSU alum Ryan Martin, Derek's using this camp to help kids from all across the country understand what his players already know. The chair isn't an excuse, it's an opportunity.
Everywhere else is going to baby you. We're going to tell you how it is, and we're going to tell it to you straight.
You have the ability to be highly competitive. You know, we bring them here on campus, we pre-test them, post-test them, and essentially between that time we train them.
He does things the right way. He's really focusing on these athletes getting their degree because there is no MBA.
I'll make this one, I hope. It's embarrassing if I miss it. And I missed.
The pace of Derek's life never slowed down, and more importantly for him, his body, mind, and spirit never did either. From starting linebacker to player coach of a wheelchair basketball team, Derek hasn't really had the time to learn a different speed. But what he has learned is that life after tragedy is something he'll always cherish, no matter how quickly it goes.
I don't know what I'd be doing. It's crazy because if you think about it, because of my accident, I got a bachelor's, a master's degree, and a job. So if I didn't have my accident, where would I be in life? I don't know. If I didn't have wheelchair basketball, where would I be in life? Probably twiddling my thumbs playing video games. It's more than just basketball, it's more or less life lessons, you know, so you can essentially, whatever you learn on the court, you can apply it to your real life. Like you have an obstacle, how do you overcome that obstacle on the court? Well, then you can do the same thing in life.
An absolutely inspiring story. Derek just finished his third full season as the Mustangs head coach. Augustana and Tarleton State face off in the quarterfinals of the D2 Elite 8 on Wednesday at 6 p.m. and we'll have a full recap of the Vikings Elite 8 performance on next week's episode of the Northern Sun Experience.